As I've listened to the stories of thousands of women of all ages, in all kinds of stages, through the years, I've kept their stories locked in the vault of my heart. I feel as if they've been walking around with me all through these years. They've bothered me, they've prodded me, and sometimes kept me up at night. Ultimately, they've increased my passion to reframe and reimagine the powerful positions of mother and matriarch within the family system. I'm a problem solver, so I set out to find a way to perhaps change the trajectory of this silent and sad scenario about a dynamic yet untapped source of potential and purpose sitting in our homes and churches. It is time to come to the table, Heartlifters, and unleash the power of maternal presence into the world. Welcome to Mothering for the Ages, our 2025 theme here on today's Heartlift. I'm Janelle. I am your guide here on this heartlifting journey. I invite you to grab a pen, a journal, and a cup of something really delicious. May today's conversation give you clarity, courage, and a revived sense of camaraderie. You see, you're not on this journey alone. We are unified as Heartlifters and committed to bringing change into the world, one heart at a time. Heartlifters, oh my goodness. May I contain my enthusiasm, but you know, I just received a word from someone to not tone it down. So, welcome to the show, Dr. Ariana. And I did forget to ask, is it Malloy?
Yeah, Malloy, you got it.
Malloy, I got it right. So we were so having so much fun pre-recording.
We're vibing, yeah.
Vibing, I know. It's because you're in California and I was born there and I love California. Although you did not. You were not born there and you were transplanted.
Well, actually, technically, I was born there.
Oh.
I was born in Los Angeles and lived there till I was 7. My parents were part of the original vineyard, actually. So,
with John Wilton.
Mm-hmm. John Wimber, yeah, Keith Green, they knew all the people. So,
oh my word, you have quite the legacy. No wonder you are incredible. No wonder. Okay.
Yeah. But my heart's home is Seattle. So we moved there when I was 7, and I just feel like my spirit is awakened when there are pine trees and lake and soft sun and, autumn colors. Those are just my thing.
I have never been to Seattle, but it is a goal. It is a goal to go to the Northwest. But so now you are in California. You are a professor at Biola, a university that I really love, as I shared with you.
Me too.
My son got to play with the Southern California Seahorses PDL soccer, and you just said your son went to one of their camps. So it's just a full circle. So fun. Yeah. I loved that season for him. It was a really fun season for him to develop his soccer skills. So have fun. I am an obsessed soccer mom. Oh. I had 2 girls too. So I was a dance mom, I was a piano mom, I was a lot of things, but soccer, I just loved it so much.
I very much feel new to the whole world. Oh. My son will be 6, soon. And so I'm learning about the culture of being a soccer parent.
It's a culture. It is. And we had a good culture. So I'm grateful for that. Well, Dr. Ariana, I will just call you Ariana for the sake of things. You have a new book out, Healthy Calling, From Toxic Burnout to Sustainable Work. And that is quite a mouthful. But as my Heartlifters know, I have been saying all through 2024, through my own, what I now know as calling burnout, you have given me a name for what I was going through. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. And here you are. I am so grateful. In the online college class I teach, one of the questions I ask is it's one of those main questions, if you could have dinner with anyone in history, who would it be and why? And so now I'm adding you to my list.
Oh my gosh. I
am. If I could have dinner, lunch, coffee, anything, a walk around Biola with you, I would be very, very blessed. You are a wise, wise young woman.
Thank you.
And as I said, you are an illuminator, and I'm grateful to have you here. So we will talk about your new book. Why this book and why now?
Yeah. Well, those are really kind words, and I take them to
Yeah,
heart. So I'm truly honored. Thank you.
it's very true.
Yeah, I feel very passionately that as believers, we should be able to experience freedom in relationship with our caller. And
Mm.
so our caller, who is God, is a
Capital
master,
C.
capital C.
I
He
just
is,
love that you call him the caller.
yes, he called us into existence. He
He
calls us out
did.
of the tomb. He calls us to walk on calm waters. He calls us from the trees where we are hiding. He calls us when we are timid. He calls us when we are ashamed. He calls us when we have sinned. And guess what? He is waiting for us on the shores with food. And the only question he wants to know is, do you love me? That's our caller. And so
Ariana.
when we can operate in that freedom, everything else is aligned. But
Mm.
unfortunately, we get a lot of things are happening in this very busy and chaotic world. And I've always been fascinated with work. My parents have talked about work at home at the dinner table since I was a kid. It was never
Really?
something not talked about. Yeah.
Why? Why was that? That's very interesting because I know what we talked about with our children around the dinner table, and of course we have a family of entrepreneurs. We really are. Uh, so why did your parents talk about work?
I will have to say everything good I know about this world and the love of Jesus is through the modeling of my parents, who are not perfect by any means, but even in the way they approach their imperfections, I learn about the Lord's love and myself.
Mm.
So, and what's really cool is they both came from homes that, that had divorces and moves and challenges.
Okay.
And so they decided to create the legacy in their marriage, and they did. I think that they
Wow.
are whole person people. So,
What does that mean? This is going to be
they,
something. I am so
yeah,
ready for this conversation.
I guess I grew up with the question every day, how was your day? And the one word answer was not the answer we gave. We literally would walk through our day. Well, after breakfast, I talked to so and so, and then I was feeling this way when I went to this class. And this was the thing that was on my mind when I met with these people. And they just want to know, I
Wow.
guess, I guess to say we were a storytelling family.
Okay. I love this. Thank
And
you.
to
This
the
is a
point where
surprise.
to the
Storytelling family.
Yeah.
Okay.
The point where when I was younger, I would get out of my chair at dinner and sort of reenact my day, and my parents would delight in it. They never made me feel small or less than simply because I was a child. And so I
Wow.
guess from the
Wow.
moment I can remember who I was personally and professionally, even though I didn't use the term professional at that age, it mattered. It mattered to my
It
parents,
did.
it mattered to me. And of course, they wouldn't talk about deep, hard things when I was a kid, but
Mhm.
they would talk about their work, and they treated my school time as a job. So I just naturally approached homework as my job.
Like that.
Play, play as a kid was work, and that was honoring. So
So
I
they
think
taught you
that,
the value of holding both the work and the
yeah, and
play.
as a parent now, I remember reading a book that really stood out to me, which is Whole Brain Child.
Oh,
And
yes.
oh
Mm.
my gosh, it's
Oh,
so
my
good.
goodness. My older daughter's reading it currently.
Yes.
Yes.
And so they talk about how, when kids are playing, they're working. So if we
They are.
interrupt their work, it's not that we can't, but we need to honor that. Hey, I know you're in the middle of building this tower, and it's really great. In a few minutes, we're going to need to go. So I'd encourage you to find a stopping point rather than, okay, time to go. It's just not an honoring of the work that we're doing as
Ooh,
humans.
that's brilliant. Everyone listen, please. Every mama listening. Listen, there were so many nuggets in there. Number one, you ate together. You ate dinner together. Okay, so there was a gathering time of community. So they're treating their family as the first, foremost
That's right.
important
And
community.
yeah, and probably at the very beginning of our conversation, we should talk about when we're talking about calling,
Yes.
primary calling is to love God and love others. We're all called to that. As believers, we know that call. We identify the shepherd. He says, "My sheep hear my voice," right? And so,
Mhm.
we are all called
We
to
are.
love God and love
Yeah.
others. How we love God is by how we love others. When we love others, we are loving God well. So that's the thing. But there are also specific things in our life, specific places in our life, relationally, occupationally, in service, that when we do them, it ignites our particular skill sets and our
Hmm.
particular passions in
Hmm.
such a way that it feels delicious. I mean, not all the time, but like 80% of the time, you're like, this is awesome. This is my sweet spot. So my
Yes.
area of calling research is work as a calling, and it
Okay.
can be paid or unpaid. So when I'm
Mhm.
talking about work, I'm talking about any focused endeavor that we use our mental, emotional, physical selves for. This
Would
could
you
be
please say that one more time? Because
sure.
you,
So
one thing I
yeah.
love about you, Ariana, immediately loved in you, because I'm a teacher and I can definitely recognize your teaching calling, your gift to make things understandable. And that I think is the greatest gift. And right now, I feel like you're talking to all of us, those especially who are my audience that I'm trying to really focus in on this year are those who mother. We all mother as women. And so if you would just give us that very clear definition of work one more time, it's
Sure.
beautiful.
And feel free to have me do this anytime because I get so excited.
Okay. I
I
know.
use language that like I should unpack more. Work has nothing to do with whether or not you're getting paid for it.
Okay.
That's a
Love
type of
this.
paid
Mhm.
work is a type of work. It is not just the only work.
Mm.
Work is any focused endeavor in which we bring our physical, mental, and I would say spiritual as well,
Of course.
emotional selves
Relational.
on a regular basis, relational. So mothering, 100%, that's work. And when I
Mhm.
say work, I'm not talking about labor. That's a
Mhm.
type of work as well.
Mhm.
But work is creation, formation,
Ah.
mentorship, development, resting, maintenance, artistic.
Mhm.
There are things that we can look at before the fall that God did when he
Mm.
was working to create this world.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of work I'm talking about.
I just love it so much. I love it, love it, love it. So that is what you feel so passionate about as almost an outpouring of legacy in a sense, which I really love. Can I ask what kind of work your parents did? Were they
Sure.
church planters? Is that why
So
you
they were
were?
on pastoral staff at the original vineyard until I was
Wow.
about 7. And
Holy cow.
my dad was a speaking pastor. My mom worked, she was the head of the Sunday school, and she was a
This is
singer. She is a singer.
phenomenal. Oh,
Yeah. And but they did feel a shift for lots of different reasons. And so when I was about 7 years old, we moved to Seattle, Washington, and they loved working together so much that they started off in real estate and they
okay.
included their paid career life as realtors together. But my mom still had side businesses and taught singing and sang, and my dad, led small groups and worked with first responders as a, volunteer
Mm.
chaplain. And so they still operated in their giftings.
Yes.
But I will say this, they chose to prioritize their calling as husband and wife because they felt like that was a calling, and their calling as parents because they felt a bit of that unhealthy pull when they were
Hmm.
working in ministry.
Yes.
And so my dad in particular grew up with a phenomenal mom, but he didn't have a dad in his life, and
Okay.
he felt very called to be my dad. And
Got
he
chills.
yeah, and so I see the sacrifice they made, and I realize, my work, my paid work, does feel like a calling,
Hmm.
and I know that they didn't always get to experience that, so I see
Yeah.
that sacrifice.
And that sacrifice was for you.
Yeah,
I understand that, like as a mama of adult children, to
yeah.
see now their flow and their continuance. So it's
And
really.
let me just say this: when I found out that I was pregnant, we didn't think we could get pregnant. We were told it wasn't possible,
Oh,
so he was a miracle baby. And when we found out, my parents who were living in Seattle said, "We're coming." And they
oh,
moved from Seattle to California because they knew that I felt called to do my work.
oh, I've got
My
chills
husband also
everywhere.
felt that way, and they wanted to support us. Now they have the benefit. I'm an only child, so there was no
Okay.
other pull there, right?
Okay, yes, I have a
Um,
full F3.
yeah, there. So in that regard, they were able to. That was a pretty easy, but
Yeah.
it wasn't easy. I mean, their community
No.
was in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Their ideal home that they poured a lot
Mm.
of time and energy into was in Seattle, and so they made a huge sacrifice. And this was right before the pandemic happened. So they
Ooh.
moved to California and didn't know anybody but us. And then the pandemic happened, and we all kind
Ooh.
of hung together. So their
Wow.
sacrifice, I want to be like them when I grow up, basically.
That is worth every bit of our time together right there. I appreciate it because Ariana, I literally do feel that I was called to be a mother.
Yes.
I think motherhood is the highest calling.
Mhm.
It was for me. And I just want everyone to know that the most valuable work that you can do, like Ariana's parents, is to understand that legacy is it's critical. But I also love that they support you. I just love everything about it. So let's, if you wouldn't mind, because I will connect everyone with your incredible videos that are out
Oh, thank
there.
you.
But for the sake of what we do here, we have three heartbeats: healthy sense of self, healthy behaviors, and healthy communication skills. So
Mm,
before we dive into calling burnout and calling, I'd like to maybe take just a moment for you to tell everyone what a healthy relationship is, because
mm.
you define things so succinctly that you're changing my work. I will go back and use your work as how I define a healthy relationship and then healthy communication.
Yeah,
Okay.
great. I love this. I would say a healthy relationship is when we are coming from a place of humility, which
Yeah.
means we are willing to learn and grow. We know we don't have all the answers. Our expectation is to be interdependent with the other person. So, not dependent on them for
Mhm.
everything, but also not independent. We were meant to be interdependent.
Yeah.
So, we co share. We co share the space of listening and speaking. We co share idea making. We're willing to learn from the other. And it's also okay to say no. I think in healthy relationships, there's an honoring of, hey, I can't do that,
Mhm.
or there's no fear of saying no, when you recognize a boundary that needs to be put up. I
Yeah.
think healthy relationships allow for you to show up messy, but also include a sense of, I want to respect this space. So messy
Yeah.
and lazy are not the same thing.
Oh, define. Give us a difference.
Yeah, so messy, I think, is when you're really feeling very imperfect that day and
Yes.
you
This
don't have
is
it
a
together.
hot
Yeah,
mess.
a hot mess. You're not saying things the way you want to.
No, we're angry,
Feeling a
we're
lot of feelings
erupting.
that maybe you haven't even named yet. You're angry, you're hungry, you're tired, all the things, and you know that that other person sees your goodness and does
Hmm.
not define you by that moment.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. They see your goodness. Lean in, guys. Lean in. In a healthy
But I,
relationship, you see the other's
yeah,
goodness
the other
somehow.
goodness, you assume the best in that person.
Right. Oh
You
my gosh,
assume the
I'm going to
best.
start screaming. You assume I'm rocking.
Yeah.
Assume the best. Do you have to take a deep
Laziness.
breath
Yeah.
before that? So, okay,
Yeah,
that's
you
messy.
do.
Go ahead. Go ahead
Yeah,
with
you do. Yeah.
lazy.
So I think, and you do have to take a deep breath for that because it's easy to assume what
The
other people's
worst.
intent is based on our own filter of the moment.
Thank you.
And so I think taking that time to remember that I'm assuming the best. I'm assuming that when they said this thing, they didn't mean it as a dig to me. I'm
Mhm.
assuming that when they made that face, it actually wasn't about what I'm saying. It's about something else going on. Maybe I should ask a question about that rather than
Oh,
responding. That's
oh,
assuming the best.
I like that. Maybe I
Yeah.
should ask a question. Okay. Lazy?
Laziness is not including manners when we respond because manners are always important. Saying thank you for that. I appreciate that. You're welcome. Those things are always important. Laziness lacks self control
Yeah.
and it's very self focused.
You do know that you, oh my gosh. I have
So,
not read these things. I have not heard these things. I feel like I too am a communication specialist.
yeah.
But you're just bringing to the conversation the nuts and bolts, I think, of what it looks like to have a healthy relationship. You're framing it in such a beautiful way. I've never heard anyone say, use your manners.
Mm.
Ariana, did you learn that around the table? I
I
mean,
did. Yeah, my parents, but one of the pieces of advice they gave me when getting married is never lose your manners. So
I don't know, Heartlifters. Have you ever heard that before? Because I don't think I've heard never forget your manners.
yeah, so like if I burp in front of my husband, I'll say, "Excuse me." When he takes the trash out, I say, "Thank you." When
Yes.
I love to cook, I don't cook because I'm the woman. I cook because I love to cook, and he does the dishes. And every night he'll say, "Thank you for the food," and I will also
Yes.
say, "Thank you for doing the dishes."
Yes, we do that.
And I
Hmm.
really appreciate you. And in fact, when we put our son down for bed, we do that together, and we all go around and talk about one thing we're grateful for that day. And so I think having a heart of gratitude is the way to solve cynicism and insecurity and self-focus. And I think self-focus happens when we have a longing to be known and it's not being
Yes.
met. So I don't
Oh,
think
yes.
self-focus starts off as a bad thing. I think
Hmm.
it's a reaction to I need to feel seen and I'm not
Hmm.
feeling seen.
That's attachment words there. When our community really is growing and learning so much about how important it is to have that secure attachment, which sounds like you had that as a
I
child.
did. I
And
did.
I pound the table that if you don't give a child anything else, please give them that
100%.
because it builds resilience in so many things. Okay, you just talked about humility. So we're going to get back to that because that is a
Great.
very huge part of your book that I have never had a conversation in over 300 conversations of this podcast on humility.
I love
So
it.
I know here you are. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone teach about healthy humility. So we
Yeah,
have to. Okay. So you defined healthy relationships. You also define healthy communication. I'm just going to read what I heard you say is
great.
the healing balm to interpersonal and organizational tenderness and wounds.
Mhm.
What? Ariana? I stopped the tape I was watching and I'm rewinding it. I'm rewinding. I'm going, never heard healthy communication called the healing balm. Why? Why did you write that definition that way?
Yeah, and let me just say, communication is verbal, nonverbal, and written.
Mhm.
So it's both what we say, how we say it, and then the record in which we keep our
Oof.
messages.
Woo, which is now texting, which is so dangerous.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
it's the worst form of communication.
Yes, it's awful. So dangerous.
Let me just say
Dangerous.
as a side note, my husband and I were both professors at Biola, but now he's working as the dean of a seminary. So we don't get the
What?
chance to carpool together as much anymore
Oh,
at all, really. And we were trying to find a way to have relational maintenance each day. And so we were using text and it was awful. And so
yeah.
now we actually use a visual audio recording, and we leave messages for each other so that we can see each other's face, hear the intonation and pausing, because literally nonverbal communication is about 70 to 75% of the communication.
Yeah,
So
I've
if
heard up to
we're only
93,
getting,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
intimacy communication, nonverbal is 93% in
Okay.
intimate communication.
Gotcha.
So emoticons do not replace nonverbals as much as we would like for them to on texting. And so when you don't have that, the pausing, the tone, the pacing,
Mm.
if you don't have the facial expressions, you're missing out on the majority of the communication. And then again, we insert how we're feeling in the moment as we read those texts.
So what, if you wouldn't mind, just because I know everyone's going to go, Janelle, why didn't you ask this question?
Yeah.
What do you use? What is
Oh,
the
right. We use
program?
Marco Polo for lack of a
Okay,
better.
Marco Polo. Got it. Yeah.
We tried all different kinds, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure if that's the one we'll stick with, but we just needed
Okay.
something to do. And if we can't do that, we'll just use an audio recording
Yes.
so we're hearing our voices.
Yes, I
Uh,
love that. Thank you. That's really wise. And I want everyone to take note of that
yeah.
because I think in the counseling room, I can't tell you how many, if not all, pull out their phones, go, read this
Yeah.
text that he or she sent me. And I'm like, no, I don't. Put it away.
Right.
Put it
Right.
away. I don't want to go down that road because
Yeah.
it is really dangerous.
It's so
Like you said,
dangerous.
because there's no tonal voice, there's no intonations, there's no face. Okay. And then you say healthy communication is the ability to give and receive messages in ways that are truthful, kind, and clear.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. With an awareness of your own ideas and messages, as well as the expressed ideas and feelings of others. Bravo. I mean, wow. So I just wanted that to be foundational in this particular conversation for everyone because it is one of our primary tenets here. And I want to always offer hope that it is possible to learn how to have
It is
healthy communication, right? Will you affirm that?
100%. But let me also be clear. I am not talking about perfecting it. I'm
No,
talking about learning it, right? And
that's right.
so every week there are many moments where I don't have healthy communication with somebody.
Of course, that's how,
But
to me,
when
that's how
we
I've learned
know,
it, right?
right?
I've learned it through my blunders,
Yes.
through,
But
yeah.
when we know the goal, we can pursue it. And the reason communication is the healing balm, and when I'm talking about communication, it's the verbal, nonverbal, and written, is that we know from scripture the tongue is the rudder of the ship. We
Yeah.
know that out of the heart, the mouth speaks. We know that Jesus used communication to demonstrate the miraculous hand of God. And
Mhm.
so it just goes to show 1 + 1 = 2.
Yeah,
Communication we see in scripture that is affirmed is what brings life and what can have the possibility of bringing death.
correct. So I also wanted that beautiful foundation because what's most primary in the pursuit of calling to me, from what I've read in your book, is our relationship with the caller.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's important to really understand the principles of healthy communication and a healthy relationship so that we can frame that with our maker,
That's
with our
right.
caller, right? And I think I never knew that. I mean, I've gone 30 years of walking with Christ, not understanding emotions and healthy relationships and healthy communication. So I just appreciate that you have married it all. Like
Mhm.
you've put it all together so that ultimately your ultimate goal, Ariana, is that we will have a healthy relationship with our caller.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing that. And, this is backed up by data, my own
Mhm.
personal experience. But when we're talking about that relationship with the caller, it's multi-layered. It's,
Okay.
because it's relationship with ourselves and the
Hmm.
caller, and then the community that we impact and that community that impacts us. All of it is connected.
It is.
So when we're experiencing relationship with the caller, that's our compass. When we focus on our calling instead of our caller, we get
Mhm.
into trouble.
We do. And that's
So,
why you wrote this incredible book on calling burnout.
yeah.
Never heard it called that. And that's why I have gotten into trouble. I know that. And I know that's why I've experienced calling burnout and overwhelm because I do not keep that relationship with the caller. As you write, we take on the role as caller, right?
It's really hard though, especially when you're thinking about the role of mothering. I know that my own understanding of how to spend time with God was really rocked when I became a parent. I mean, from
Tell me
early on,
more.
my incredible son, who by the way, I actually didn't know if I knew I wanted to be a parent, but I didn't know if that was a calling for me. And then I held him in my arms. And I had a moment the minute I held him in my
Tell
arms
me.
where
Tell us,
I
please.
fell in love with him.
Oh,
I just think
oh.
he is so incredible. Actually, even when I was pregnant, and I think maybe it's because it was a hard thing for us, but when he would push on my stomach, and then you'd have the little pitter patter feet inside my tummy, I would just pat my stomach and say, "Thank you for communicating with me. I'm so
Oh
excited to meet you."
my
And I would just
gosh.
talk to him even at that moment and just say, "Hi there. I see you.
He's,
I'm so excited. Thank you for communicating with me." And
oh,
so,
it's gonna make me
the minute
cry.
he could talk, I also wanted him to know he could ask me any question. And so when he asks me, and he's a question asker, when he asks me the questions, I always start by saying, "Did you know smart people ask questions? I'm so glad you asked me that."
You're such a good woman and mother. I'm so
Well,
happy he
thank
called
you.
you to mother.
Again,
I
I learned
am.
it from my parent.
I
And
know.
I learned it from negative situations too. I had some
Sure.
teachers who really did not invite question asking in a
Yeah.
classroom. And so I learned, okay, that made me feel really stupid. I never want
Small.
anyone to feel that way. Yeah.
Oh, but for sure. I'm right there with you. Don't
Yeah.
ever want anyone to feel this way, ever.
No.
Yeah. Particularly, don't.
So,
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
so my son's amazing, but we had a really hard time nursing. I saw 6 lactation consultants. It was very dehumanizing. It never worked out. I pumped for, 9 months and then I
I'm
had to just move
so
on.
sorry.
It
I
was really
know.
challenging. And so,
Yes.
breastfeeding is hard enough, but then
Yes.
all the other components, it's interesting. They've really come a long way in many places where
Yeah.
there's breastfeeding rooms. There's not
Yeah.
a lot of places that have outlets. So
Right.
if you are reliant on pumps alone, and
Hmm.
there's this really strange visceral feeling of like, if I can't feed my son, what am I
Hmm.
going to do?
Oh, yeah. It's
So
frightening.
there was a lot of moments where I'm like, I just am trying to get through the day. And so
Hmm.
spending time with God was not like my ideal time with God is the old school way. I mean, that's not the case for everybody. Gary Thomas wrote this fantastic book, Sacred Pathways, that,
One of my favorites.
oh my gosh, it's
I
so good.
know. But once
But
I finally didn't feel guilty for being in nature. I was like,
yes, so
oh
for
my
me,
gosh.
I'm the
Yes.
same. I need to be in nature. I need
Yes.
contemplation and I need
Yes.
enthusiasm. So I'm
There.
all three of those things.
Well, we are just soulmates. Yes.
But so my ideal situation would be to sit on the floor looking at
Hmm.
something beautiful in nature
Yes.
and read the
Yes.
Bible and pray and just like meditate on scripture and just chew on it like a good piece of
Sounds so juicy and lovely and delicious.
as a new parent, there's no
Yeah.
time for
I
that, like at
understand. I had
all.
twins
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my
and a
gosh.
4-year-old that was really like your son. They
Yeah.
vivacious and amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
so what did
I,
you,
yeah,
how
I
did
went through a
you,
lot of guilt about that for a long
okay.
time. But I
Hmm.
didn't stop talking to God. I just was like, I don't know
No.
what I'm doing here, Lord. And I now love Lectio 365 is a devotional that I love to use.
It's the
Yeah,
best. It's
it's
so
totally the
good.
best. I love the international dynamic. I love the
Hmm.
contemplative nature. I love the structure. What's
Yeah.
great is my husband and I will listen to it
We do
separately as
too.
we drive. Yeah. And we'll
Oh,
talk about it.
oh,
And
you
then
have so many solid foundations and habits. I love it so much.
well, again, it's from like learning what not to do,
Yes, I know.
But and then on our Sabbath days, we actually read it together and listen to it together. But
Yeah.
I think what I would say is, as a parent, I learned that there are seasons where spending time with God is offering up your pleas for help and your cries for help. And
Yeah.
not falling into that thing of like, I can do it myself. Because there's this weird mom adrenaline that can happen where you do
Oh,
have like a superpower to push through
oh,
forever.
yes, ma'am. Up until adult, yes, it's not
Yeah,
gone.
up until something happens. And the last 3 years, I've had a lot of different physical
Mhm.
health things that happened, even while I was writing this book, that some of which were out of my control and some of them were in my control. And having the compass of healthy humility to
Yes.
guide me
Hmm.
was a really essential way of getting out of that really hard season.
Okay, so I think that we need to talk about that then.
Okay.
I might just add in a little teaching on calling burnout because,
I
like
love
I
it.
said to you before we started, Ariana, there are just, you have so much to offer and say. So with your permission, I might just add in teachings from the book
Sure.
because we just can't get to it
Do it.
all right here.
Do it.
But one of the most important things I am gleaning from your work is healthy humility. I really have not seen this taught. So would you please just tell us why that's in a book about healthy calling? It's
I know
surprising. It's like, what?
the word humility doesn't feel like that sexy of a topic. It's like,
It's
okay,
not.
virtue. Yeah, it's not.
It's just
Um,
not. That's why I haven't
right.
read anything on it.
One of the reasons as a social scientist, I love studying data, and I'm a qualitative researcher, which means I look
Woo.
at stories, I look at interviews, focus groups, messages, and I see what themes emerge. Is the data's there? You can
Yes.
interpret it in different ways, but it's there.
Hmm.
And so the data about humility is so awesome. It's so compelling.
Wow. You spent
So
a year doing this, right?
I spent a year doing this. So actually, when I was in my third year of my being a professor, I had a burnout moment. I remember laying in bed in the middle of the night. At the time, I was single, but I was engaged. So I was
Hmm.
planning a wedding.
Hmm.
I was teaching an overload. I was on too many committees. I was in this very strange season that almost feels sort of silly to complain about, where I had a lot of good opportunities.
Yes, you talk about the danger of the yeses, you
The
know.
danger of the
Yeah.
yeses. And I had a lot of good opportunities, but I was laying there in bed one night and I was just like, what is wrong with me? I'm exhausted, but my heart is beating fast. I
Oh.
am mentally depleted, but it's going a mile a minute. And I'm like not as patient with myself and others. And I began
Mhm.
checking off the list of like what burnout looks like because I had done the research on it. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm having that right
Oh
now. Like
no, I have
I'm burnt
that.
out. And so I'm like, I need to make a course correction really fast because the calling we have is a gift from God, and I want to honor and steward that. I don't want to dismiss that.
Mhm.
I don't want to bury it or not do it proper respect, you know? So I
Yes.
saw this call for a fellowship, a research fellowship, which meant I would have only half the amount of teaching. And then the other half the time, I would get to basically sit in a room of cherry wood, dark furniture, delicious snacks, and intellectual rich conversation with
It's
other
that
scholars.
sounds amazing.
I know.
You
It's
compare it to the
so,
Inklings, which I was
yeah.
like, yes, who doesn't want to have that moment?
Oh my
Yes.
gosh. And
You
so,
did have it.
I did have it. But the funny thing is, God knows. Isn't it so cool how the Holy Spirit knows
Mhm.
before we do?
He
I
does.
didn't even care what the fellowship was about. I just needed a break.
You needed
But
a
it just
break.
so happens that the fellowship research was about humility. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Again, it's cool how the Holy Spirit works because
Mhm.
when I was in junior high, I was asked to like be the valedictorian of junior high or whatever the term was for
Not
that, and
surprised.
I had to choose a verse for that, and it was Ephesians
What?
that says, "Be completely humble and gentle, be patient, bearing with
What?
one another in love, make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace." So
Wow.
humility's been chasing me down since
Middle
I
school,
middle
junior
school.
high.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a foreshadowing moment.
right.
Right. Okay.
So when I'm in doing this fellowship, what I learned very quickly is that humility can be interpreted or approached from a variety of different ways, and scholars can't even fully agree on it.
No.
But it is clear about a couple things. So here's the grid.
Okay.
Humility can be identified with three things.
Hmm.
Humility, first of all, let's talk about what it isn't. It is not the same as modesty.
Right.
Modesty is, if someone gives you a compliment, you're like, "Oh, thank you," and you kind of shrug and you don't want the attention, and that has its place, I suppose. But a humble person knows the strengths that they have. They're aware of their weaknesses. They're not distracted by either one. That's the first criteria. They know their strengths. They know what they're good at.
Mm-hmm.
They're confident in that. You look at leadership books like Jim Collins' Good to Great book, that famous book, or
Yes.
Patrick Lencioni's work on Ideal Team Player. Humility
Mhm.
is at the top of what makes a good employee.
Okay.
And you don't want someone who doesn't know what they're good at. That's incompetence. That's
That's
not
right.
humility.
That's right. That's good. Very good distinction. Love it.
I think especially as women, sometimes we don't know how to
Hmm.
receive it. I'm not entirely sure why we've been socialized that way,
Oh, we
but
have.
yeah, yeah. So the first part of humility is you know your strengths, you know your weaknesses. You're not
Hmm.
thinking about either one of those things. You're not distracted by them. The second thing about humility is that it is a lifestyle of learning,
Oh, just
which means you are not threatened that you don't know everything.
wow.
It means
Wow.
that you have an intellectual curiosity, a relational
Yes.
curiosity to learn more.
I love that. I love it. Mm.
I mean, if you think about Jesus, he's called rabbi and teacher. He is literally inviting us to keep learning.
Yeah. I
So
am
the
trying
second
to so
criteria,
not
yeah,
get
totally.
enthusiastic.
No,
I'm
I
so
love it so much.
I'm like
Um,
trying to just be quiet. So hard, Heartlifters. I'm really trying. Oh,
Janelle, this is a complete tangent, but I was watching a show the other day, and I'm not going to mention the show because I don't know if it's always good. But
I know. Who
uh,
knows?
but the phrase that the mom said to the daughter was, "You are never too much, and you are always enough." And I feel
Oh,
like that mantra. So I would say to you, you said earlier, like you're never
too
like you don't have
loud.
to dim yourself
Mm.
down. And I say, don't do that. Like I'm loving your interaction.
I'm just trying to give you the space, but it's
Yeah.
just so necessary. Okay, so humility in this book
Humility.
about burnout, it's essential for leaders. It's essential, and mothers are leaders. So
Yes,
it's
they are.
essential. It's at the top of the list. Go ahead, because I'm
Okay.
waiting with bated breath for the
The third
next one.
one. The third one. This is a hard one.
It
The
is.
third part of humility is the ability to walk away, to unplug, to say, I'm going to take a moment, I'm going to pause, and to know that things are not going to fall apart. Because in that third part of humility, we remember who's in charge. We remember our place in all of this. We are
Mm.
not God. And guess what? Even God rested. And again, like learning how to Sabbath and rest as a parent, especially when your kids are young, but I would say no matter how old they are, because
Oh,
you're caretaking with them or their kids, or you're worrying about them, or you're, all
or
the things.
traveling on planes.
That's
All of
right. To
mine
see
live in
everybody.
three different places. And, I love that you say it is a capacity. I love the word capacity. And I feel like what you're saying, to have the capacity to step away, to walk away, to surrender. You talk a lot about surrender. Okay, so those are the three. I will reiterate them for sure for everyone, and they are in your book, clear as can be. You also, I want to close, I think, with, well, I don't want to close, never, not with you, but gratitude. You talk about gratitude in a way I've not heard it talked about. So if you would just kind of wrap all of this around the greatest of virtues, would you say gratitude's a virtue?
Oh, 100% it's a
Okay.
virtue. I think in some ways, gratitude is humility in action. And I think
Mhm.
another way to think about that is, gratitude is knowing whose you are and who you are and who's in
Yeah.
charge. It
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
it is the thing that will dissolve cynicism. It is the thing that will turn the lights on. When we
Mm.
have a grateful heart, when we have a thankful heart,
Yeah.
our face is lifted up rather than curled inward.
Yes, yes, yes. Hold on one. Okay. I'm going to read this
Okay.
because you wrote this. What is the core of humility? That's what you're really teaching us. Okay. And you
Mhm.
say the key to humility is gratitude to the giver. So not only the caller, but the giver of all things. And I ask this question: how might humility and gratitude alter the possible calling burnout in mothering?
Yeah,
I'm just throwing that out. Like, how
I
might
love
it
that
alter?
question. I think that for me, if I were to answer that question, which is a great question, it reorients the perspective a bit. It reorients how we're seeing the mess in our homes that we
There you
wish were
go.
clean. It reorients the fact that we didn't get to do the thing that the PTA is asking us to do with, the my kid had spirit week for the first time he's in kindergarten, and I super failed the whole week. I didn't know. I wasn't prepared. I'm worried.
Garden.
Yeah. But we just decided to go with it and have fun. I think
Oh,
humility is learning. So part of it is I've made a note for next year, be prepared, be more prepared for spirit week, because like I
that's
just wasn't
so
prepared.
adorable.
Um
I'm
I
laughing because I've
also
been there. It's
Oh
just,
yeah. But
it's,
I think that when we parent from gratitude, we are co-parents not just with our partners, but with God. We
yes,
allow him to be part of the parenting process.
yes. I
He
love
is
the word reorient. You talk a lot about it, but for time's sake, I can't go into it. But you do say like the three C's of calling, which I will just say really quickly here. The three C's of calling are the caller, of course, the called, and the community. Calling is integrative, comprehensive, and personal. And I will add in a teaching moment about that, Ariana, because I really appreciate you saying that humility is radical, reorienting, and redemptive. That's what I was getting at.
yeah.
So in order to reorient burnout, in my mind, it is reconnecting with the caller, knowing my place, walking in humility. These are all very fresh invitations that are being given through your book that I have not received, and they are right on time in my own life.
Mm.
My biggest takeaway, and we will close here, you say, while burnout in general is definitely concerning, leading to depression, anxiety, increased sick days, relational conflict, a kind of psychological paralysis, and an overriding sense of shame, hello, burnout. Burnout from a calling is more than that. And I think this is where you rocked me and you gave me
Mm.
the answer I needed.
Mm.
It's devastating to the core. Burnout in general results in deep and consuming feelings of I don't like what I'm doing anymore. But burnout from a calling goes beyond that. Burnout from a calling is I don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's significant for everyone to really sit with, because I'm sure you felt it when you became a mother, because you have a significant educational academic calling. I even feel like you're a preacher. Like you were preaching when we got started, girl. You were preaching. And I was like, please don't stop, because you were on fire. And I think it's very significant that you write about humility to understand that, our identity is not our calling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could say it's our identity is our calling as a child of God.
Yeah, our primary calling.
Our primary calling, right. But when you start to reverse the C's, the capital C and the small c, and take on the role of the capital caller, and think that if I don't do this work, the world's going to fail. I mean, that's how I felt when I left my trauma work. It was like, what are my clients going to do? I mean, they were like, what are we going to do with it? I'm like, I don't know. And I just carried that weight for a very long time. So I think all of us need to take a moment. Please read Ariana, watch every video I send you through the show notes, and recognize once again that it just comes down to knowing our worth and our value, and that we have our dignity in the caller. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would say that it's an honor to have this conversation. I'm happy to keep having the conversation. The thing about burnout is it doesn't go away on our own, on its own. We actually need to stop and not get used to it. It's not going to go away. And it's a spectrum. So it's not like we want to wait till it gets really, really bad. When we start noticing those burnout tendencies, we have to stop then. We have to reorient then, because we don't want our relationship with the caller to be corroded by this kind of toxic burnout.
And it is so toxic. And I shared with you before we started, I mean, this is my third round of, I would say, toxic burnout. And it's burnout calling burnout, because I've always felt called as a teacher and then a mother. And, so those don't go away. So you're right, and I thought this time that I would recognize it earlier because I do know the signs, but I didn't.
No, yeah.
It was even harder because it involved the healing of family systems. And that's what I feel so called to. So I think at the end of the day, like you said, humility puts you back in your place.
Yes. And it's hope. Humility also offers hope.
So hopeful. Thank you for adding that.
Again, in Micah 6:8, what is the Lord asking of us?
To walk humbly.
To walk humbly with him. Not on our own, not walking on our own, with him. And the Good Shepherd knows if you have a moment where he needs to put you on his shoulders. And it's never too late. It's never too late. We are purpose-driven creatures. Therefore, the work we seek to do is a thirst we will have from the moment we're born till the moment we meet him in person.
Yes. It is really hard to say goodbye to you.
Well, let's not say goodbye. We'll just say until the next time.
Okay, I'll see you at Viola. All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Ariana, for giving us this time at the table. Appreciate it so much.
Pleasure.
Thanks for listening today, Heartlifter. Be sure to hop over to Substack at Heartlift Central, Instagram at Janelle Reardon. And if you would be so kind, make a tax-deductible donation to keep this podcast ad-free and spreading its influence all over the world. You can make that donation on my website, JanelleReardon.com, Heartlift International. Everything you need to know is right there. Remember, Heartlifter, you have value, worth, and dignity.